What is going on, YouTube and Spotify? This is the Just BSN podcast. And today, my friends, we have episode 141. And my friends, as always, I'm with me, my boy Andrew. And today, we don't got a crazy amount of stuff to talk about. Let's preface this by saying we're still in the slow season. But
Yeah.
we talked a little bit of Browns last week. We're going to continue to do that this week, and we'll speak in some Guardian stuff as well. So, my friend, before we get into everything, how we doing, man? How are we feeling after last week's fiasco?
I mean, I'm over it now because at this point, I really did not care to begin with. I mean, it's LeBron James. He's 40 years old. At this point, let him do what he wants to do with his career. Who cares? If he wants to go play with Philly because he thinks Philly gives him the best opportunity, hey, that's his ideology. That's his thought process. I'm not gonna harp him for doing that. It's his life. Whatever, who cares? Like if your whole life is hanging on the balance of what LeBron's decision was, you should probably get a hobby.
Yeah.
I could care less what he did, where he went. I'm just happy that the whole thing is over. That way we don't have to keep waiting on it. And that's the only thing everyone talked about. I'm glad it's done. We can move on. We could talk about other things going on in the sports world.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
all
I
I care.
mean, yeah. I mean, look, like it kind of is what it is. There was a lot of overreaction after that happened. A lot of people were very upset, and people who were basically once LeBron fans are just like, yeah, he can,
Mhm.
go forever. Like he doesn't exist in my world. I'm like, I can't quite do all that. Like he still brought us a title in 2016, so like he's still indebted to us in that way. I think he just wanted to kind of end in a different path and not have to go back to to another team. And for us, it felt like it would have made sense. For him, I think he just wants to try to contend. And clearly, the Cavs. I mean, they're still not really making moves right now. There's a lot of rumors going on about a few different guys. But no movements have really been, been made besides the gentleman that we just got from the EU side of things,
Yeah.
um, Mendoza or whatever his name is.
Mario Hazonia.
Yeah, Hazonia. I pretty much combined his name. But yeah, he gives us some size, some athleticism, which we desperately need. So it's a cool signing, but it's not anything to knock our socks off. The Cavs still have quite a few things that they have to figure out. And to be honest, they better make at least one or two moves in this off season, and that should not include re-signing James Harden because that is all going to happen. I'm pretty sure the deal is pretty much done. It's just
Mhm.
I think he's giving them a chance to kind of work around some kinks and really not put them in a rough spot. Like he's actually being kind of cool about it. So maybe he's doing that. Maybe there's something more behind the scenes with him that we just don't know if he could be a part of a sign and trade. Like there is so much unknown and so many hypotheticals going on. But the one constant that I have heard is James Harden is going to be a Cav. His deal is done. They are just waiting on them to kind of make some more moves and him kind of give them a little bit of flexibility, which is a good thing. So yeah, before we get more into our Browns talk and our Guardians talk today, Andrew, why don't we go ahead and give a quick shout out to the sponsors of the channel at Effortless Wins.
Yeah, guys, check out our sponsor, Effortless Wins, for sports betting advice and a place to boost your wins. Talk to Tony or Grade. The links will be in the description of Spotify and the comments on YouTube. Go just BS26 for a discount. Guys, we are in the heightened part of baseball season. We are in the second half, and things are just going to only get crazy. So make sure you guys talk to Tony and Greg. Get those bets in for baseball because before you know it, we're going to be in the fall, and it's going to be college football, NFL, then NBA, NHL. We're going to be back into the full swing of sports. So now's the time to make some money during MLB season and get ready for the fun in the fall with everything else coming along with it. So, guys, check them out. Go talk to Tony or Greg. They're going to hook you up, they're going to get you right. And I mean, they're both very valuable in their own sports. I know Tony's very good with the NBA and the NFL. Greg is very good with baseball. So now's the time to hit him up, make some money
Yeah.
with baseball with Greg, and then go make some money in the NBA and the NFL with Tony.
Oh yeah, 100%. These guys know what they're talking about. I feel like we just kind of keep saying the same thing. So I'm not gonna keep trying to regurgitate the same thing. But they're really good dudes. They're really
They're
worth
amazing.
it if you guys are
Yep.
really trying to boost your plays and really just up your game if you're really trying to take it seriously. However, be above the age of 21. Please gamble responsibly if you're going to. Please
Yes.
remember that at the end of the day, you are playing with your own money. So be comfortable with what you are spending because what you are spending you might not get back. And that's a very high likely possibility. So
Yep.
be smart. Um, and if you're one of those people that needs help, there are hotlines out there to do all that. So don't be an idiot. All right. Be responsible. Be a good adult. Okay. Let's be responsible adults in 2026. All right. So yeah, thank you again to the guys at Effortless Wins for always being part of the channel. We do appreciate them.
Yep.
So yeah, again, Browns talks. We started getting into a little bit that like pre-camp vibe. Trying to talk a little bit more, just about some like positional players and guys that we are trying to hone in on. But we all know at the end of the day that the main topic of conversation throughout camp is going to be the quarterbacks. Ultimately, that's just what's going to happen. And there's been a lot of talk about, is it going to be Watson? Is it going to be Shadur? Who's going to look better? And honestly, I feel like both are going to be kind of average throughout like the preseason, to where it's going to be really hard for them to make a decision, and they're probably going to end up leaning towards Watson just because of his experience. That being said, the question that I had, and the one that I want to start this sort of conversation off with, is: do you trust Todd Monken to actually make this decision? Because I think when we had Stefanski here, I'm not sure all of us had that confidence in Stefanski at all. So, do you have a little bit of confidence in Monken just because of his experience? He's been around some really good quarterbacks, over the years, so he understands the position a lot better than Kevin ever could, but also understands this offense and the need a lot better. So, I don't know. Do you trust him and this staff to make the right decision, or do you think they're going to kind of be forced into their own hands of what Barry may want? Is this going to be another sort of GM controlled team, or is Todd actually going to take the reins on this and actually make a decision?
Well, I think you just mentioned it. Is the front office going to give him the decision to make the decision? Because, I've said this for the past few months whenever we decided to talk Browns. I've said, you have to allow Monken to make his own decisions. He's the head coach. You don't get to control what he does. It's his team. Let him decide. I think that was the problem with Stefanski. Was Stefanski was listened to anything that Barry said. He listened to anything that anyone in the front office said. I think he listened to too much of like Paul DeBodesta and the analytics department saying, look, analytically, this is who you should be starting. This gives you the best opportunities to win, the best chance to win. It didn't work, obviously. It made things 10 times worse, and DePodesta ended up going to Colorado, back to baseball for the Rockies, where they are still one of the worst teams in baseball. Yeah. So I think this should just be a Monken decision at the end of the day, because if Monken decides, I trust his decision. So to answer your question, if it's him solely making the decision, I trust it because he's a football guy and he knows what he needs and he knows what he sees and what helps him give him the best chances to win football games. Yeah. So again, if that's Shador Sanders, then you start Shador Sanders when it comes to the QB battle. If it's Deshaun Watson, then you go with Deshaun Watson. You start the person who gives you the best opportunities and the best chances to win. It's not up to the front office. I don't care how much they paid a certain guy. That means nothing to me. That means nothing to the fans. That means nothing to the rest of the NFL. Your job is to get wins. And if Deshaun Watson can't give you wins, then you don't play him no matter how much he's making.
Yeah.
How much he's making has nothing to do with how good he is. It has nothing to do with, oh, well, we have to give him a chance. You gave him chance after chance after chance. He either played poorly or got injured for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
For me, his shoulder's probably gone. His knee's gone. Is he going to run? I'm sure, but it's not going to be very far or very quickly.
No.
Is is he gonna throw deep balls? Probably about 25 yards because that's probably all he has in his shoulder. So I don't see how an injured guy who has shown you nothing should be getting a start for a fourth time just to get taken out for a fourth time within the first few weeks of the season because of how poorly he's been playing. That ship has sailed. If it was me, I'm rocking with Shador day one. I want to see what I have in my second year quarterback, so I know whether or not I need a rookie quarterback next year, or if I need to draft one, or if we need to get one for at least a veteran in the offseason for one season, and then draft someone if we don't like anyone in next year's draft. Otherwise, we need to stop wasting time, stop wasting some of these people's careers, and actually do something smart. So if I'm Todd Monken, I'm telling the front office, this is my team. You hired me to coach this team. Stay out of my decision making. I will stay out of your business side. We could coexist together, be happy, but I don't care about your stupid analytics. I don't care about what you feel like because you paid this guy too much money. I want to win football games. That's what you're paying me to do, is to come here and win football games.
Yeah.
Yeah, you may want Deshaun Watson to start because you're paying him 230 mil. I don't care. He's not going to give me the best chance to win football games. This guy will. So, and it could be Shador. It could be, that kid you got in the draft. It could be him. But he's got to sit there and put the foot down and be like, listen, you hired me to coach. You hired me to win you games. This is how we're going to win games. If you don't like it, I don't care. I
Yeah.
simply don't care if you don't like it. That analytics is not how football is played. We're not Kenny Atkinson. We analytically didn't win the games. We analytically
Right.
didn't get. We analytically got LeBron. Analytics don't matter.
No.
Look at the
And
Guardians.
yeah.
The Guardians are ran analytically. Yeah, they're winning games here and there, but sitting there starting Gabby Arias because analytics tell you to because of his big arm and his good defense. I'm tired of watching 6 strikeouts at the plate.
Yeah.
I want a guy who could do both. So analytics mean nothing. The eye test means everything. And football knowledge means everything over just analytics and what your computer says.
Exactly. I mean, look, I'm not here for moral victories, man. I'm not.
Mhm.
I'm here for them to win games. And, again, we've both been saying this since the draft. Okay.
Yep.
We understand that this Browns team is not going to win 10, 12 games. Like, this is not a team built for that yet. But they do have some talent, and they have the weakest schedule in the NFL. So quite literally anything can happen, especially in this division where it's so kind of wonky right now. There's been a lot of change going on. I mean, the Bengals are the only team that didn't change a head coach in the AFC North. All right. And to be honest, you could argue they probably have the better offense in terms of their star players, next to the Ravens. But even the Ravens have been slowing down year after year after year. And although they beat the crap out of us,
Yep.
Derrick Henry finally looked like he was aging. Like, he finally looked like he was human and not a freak of nature, because he was fumbling the ball and he was not consistent as he was in previous years. And obviously the Steelers are what they are. They are not scaring anybody, not only in the AFC North, but just in the AFC in general. Like, that's another 8-9 or 9-8 team. And sure, they're gonna do something with A-Rod, but it's not gonna be enough. So the Browns have opportunity. And look, I'm gonna say this too. If somehow, and this is the most hypothetical of hypotheticals, so let me preface that by saying this. But let's say somehow a miracle happens and Watson actually plays like he did in 2019, 2020 era. And let's say he wins those 10 games. Then what do you do? Like, where do you move on from there?
Mm-hmm.
Like, now you have opportunity, I guess, but then it puts you in a difficult spot where everybody's been so fed up with this guy for 4 or 5 years, and now he finally gives you a year to cheer about, and you're like, crap, like now what do we do? Because then it puts you in a bind. Do you decide to try to keep him, or do you let him go free, agency and let him walk and see what Shadur has, or see what the next rookie class is going to have, which is the more logical thing to do. Let's not get that twisted. Like, that's the plan, and that should be the plan.
Yep.
My thing with Watson, and the reason why I don't think that's going to happen, is because I don't think his shoulder is going to be able to hold up. Like, you see early on in camp, his shoulder looks good, but by the end of that camp, like the last camp they had, beginning of the camp, he looked pretty good. By the end of the camp, he was throwing balls in the dirt. Meanwhile, Shadur is throwing up 60-yard bombs with ease.
Yep.
And like, that is the difference between him and Shadur. And I'm not sure if Watson is going to have better vision in the field than Shadur is at this point. Like, I don't know how this is going to work out. I don't know what type of Watson we're going to see, because he's been out of the game for another 2 years. And that's the other thing. Dude's been out of the game for 4 years out of his career. And that does something to you. Like, that really affects your confidence. It affects your flow. I think the only thing that helps him this time around is, and I've been saying this since we got Todd in here as head coach, is I think his offense is going to pair up with Watson's play style a little bit better. I think it's going to not be so structured to where it's like, oh, hey, you have to hit this route because this route's going to be open at this time. Like, it's going to be a little bit more of like a random timing. It's going to be about making plays on the run and then finding your guys downfield, because you have athletes now. You have 2 or 3 now really good, actually 4 pretty good athletes at receiver. And if you somehow keep Tillman, then okay, that's another good athlete that has trouble trying to catch the ball, but he's an athlete. He can go up and make plays. You have Fannin, you have Juckins, you have plenty of other guys to go to. And so it could fit Watson, but I just don't see a path where Shadur isn't the quarterback at some point. It just may take the first 4 or 5 games of the season to get there. And that's a risk that I'm just willing to take, even if Watson does play well the first few games. Because if he does, use that as trade bait. See what you go get a bag of chips for him at this point. Like, I don't care what it takes. Get him off the books. Like, get him away from us. I mean, obviously he won't be off the books because he's going to be on the books for another like 2 or 3 years with all the restructures we've done with this contract. But at least he'll be off the team, and then you don't have to worry about the cloud that's always over his head. I'm not rooting for his downfall. I'm just saying I'm ready for it to just kind of move on. Like, I'm just ready to move on. I'm ready for this team to just take the next step forward and just go with what makes sense, the logic, and that's go get your quarterback in this next draft where there's going to be 5, 6, 7 good quarterbacks coming out of that draft easily, maybe more, depending on injury, depending on God willing, somebody else like a Ty Simpson comes out of nowhere, or those type of guys come out of nowhere and produce just astronomically in college, which does happen. I mean, you have guys like that. That should be the plan, and that should always be the plan. But if Watson does play well, it's going to put them in a weird, awkward spot, and I don't know how you fix that. But I have this scarcity about Barry, where if Watson does, he's going to be, ooh, I can re-sign him to a 5-year deal, keep him here longer. And like,
that's the big worry I have too. It's like, if he does play well,
biggest worry.
Yeah, because like Andrew Berry is one of those guys where it's like, oh, see, I was right. He is playing well. Let's extend it for another 3 seasons, 2-3 seasons. And it's like, no, why? Why would you?
We were so close.
I know. It's like we were this close to getting him off this team. I can see exactly what you said, where you do start him and you kind of just hope he plays well. Again, I'm not looking for a playoff contender in this team right now. I will say though, I just want what's best for the roster and what's best for the team, and that's just playing Shador outright and just giving him the season. I think at this point we just have to punt Deshaun to the moon and just be done with him forever. This is the last year of his contract. The last year you have to pay it, and it doesn't say you have to play him in the contract. So you can just sit him on the bench. He could be the emergency backup. If something happens to Shador, hey, he's the backup guy.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean like he's not going to get playing time, but only if there's an injury. I don't want to see him be day one starter just for him to get injured again and waste a few games that we probably could have won if we had just started Shador. B, him playing well and getting extended, or C, him playing well then getting injured, and we're stuck in a weird place. It's all very weird scenarios because, again, like you said, there could be a scenario where mid-season he could be playing well and you just quickly use it as trade bait to go get someone else or get a couple more draft picks. So I don't know what this team needs to do, but at the end of the day, I think 99.9% of the fan base would just rather see Shador start and just to see what you have in a young quarterback, to see if you need to draft one next year, because it seems like next year's draft class is going to be loaded with quarterbacks. And you might not want to miss out on that train.
No, you can't afford to miss out on that train. And so if you do have a season where you're winning 10 games, that's putting you in a bad spot for that. Like that's not helping you out at all. Because then you're going to have to trade assets to try to move up if you're really trying to do that. Now, best case scenario is Shador comes in, when he balls out, and you're like, okay, I think we got Shador. Like, I think he can rock it for at least 2 or 3 seasons. But then you still feel like you have to take another quarterback because you can't have Dylan Gabriel be your backup. And you don't really know what Taylor Green is going to be because he's this freak, athlete that could be awesome, but I don't know if he's going to ever be a quarterback. He just kind of reminds me of Terrell Pryor, where it's inevitable that he's going to end up becoming a receiver or even a tight end if he puts on weight, because he's still a freak athlete and he could still do stuff on the football field, but he just doesn't have the arm to do it. But maybe he has the the work ethic to really get to there. It just depends on if coaches actually give him a shot there. I feel like it's going to be hard for them to really drive that home. But he did really good in the Gruden camp from what I saw. Like he got a lot of positive reviews from from John Gruden. So I'm not saying it's not impossible, but it's a bigger shot in the dark than even Watson panning out. So again, best case scenario again is Shador pans out. I just don't know if that's going to be the case. Like I think Shador could probably, he could be a starter, but I think he's more of like a career backup that can start you 6-8 games in a season if you get hurt and keep you afloat. He's going to go out and win you some games. He's going to be competitive. He's going to be fun, but he's also, there's just a lot of attention that comes with it. And it's kind of like the LeBron effect where like anytime he's going to join your team, you're going to get a lot of attention. Shador, for whatever reason, he's just been able to garner a lot of attention. He's garnered a lot of fans that are quite literally ride or dies. And you say something wrong to him or about him, and you're getting 35 DMs in the next 30 minutes from, a bunch of people just saying horrible things to you because you said that Shador's arm looks mid or, whatever the case is. It's a tough bargain to try to work with. So the Browns are in a unique spot. But again, like we said last week, there's a lot of fun players on this team for us to be excited about. And I think that is what is going to keep fans coming. I think that's what's going to keep fans at least intrigued and not totally turned off. Like Yeah. If we get into December and we got 3 wins to show for it,
Mhm.
obviously fans aren't going to be like super ecstatic. I get it. But if this team's at least competitive, like in these games that are not like winning until the third quarter and then they lose it in the fourth, or they just get absolutely smoked by teams week in and week out, then that's when your cause for concern for Monken becomes a real thing, because then you're seeing, oh, the players aren't gravitating towards him. And that's the other thing that I was going to bring up too about Monken is, do you think he's actually going to last beyond this season? Like, do you think the players are actually going to respond well to him just based off of the little bit that we've gotten to kind of see him within the media? Because I'm telling you, there's a few players that have talked very positively about Monken, about how he's more of a player's coach. Like Juckins on the podcast was just saying, like, he's a lot more of a player's coach. Where Stefanski was so even keel. But I think Monken is actually going to tear into some guys. And I think that's why getting rid of Miles is even better, because now you don't have him to worry about. Like, you can tear into everybody. And I hope he tears into Watson. Like, I hope he doesn't give Watson the same treatment that Stefanski gave him, where he says nothing in film, but then rips on the other guy. Just makes no sense. So you just hope that Monken does that. But do you think he's going to do that is my question.
Yeah, I mean, I think Todd Monken's a coach who doesn't take crap from anybody. He's going to be the players coach. Obviously, he's going to connect with the players. He's going to talk with them, be kind of buddy with them. Similar to what we saw with Stefanski. But also, too, I think there's a coach in him where he's not afraid to dig at players no matter who it is. It doesn't matter if it's Deshaun Watson. You're a professional. You should be better than what you're doing right now. He's not gonna let down Shadon, or he's not gonna let Deshaun get down, or get away so easily with everything like Stefanski did. Stefanski, Deshaun would throw 3 interceptions, and Stefanski would pat him on the back and say, it's okay, you can get him next time. Whereas Monken's gonna be like, dude, you are a top 5 quarterback 6 years ago. What the hell happened to you? You can make that throw. I know you can make that throw. You threw it very, very poorly. Like, where's that Deshaun Watson from 6 years ago?
Yeah.
What happened to that top 5 quarterback for the first 3 years of his career or whatever? And what happened to that guy? Because he seems to be gone.
He's been gone.
I'm sure Monken is a guy who's not afraid to let guys have it. I mean, I think there was stuff, when even in the Ravens locker room, where he's gone after people like Henry, he's gone after people like Lamar. Like, he's not afraid to let you have it if you're making too many mistakes.
Yeah.
And that's a coach you need. Like, yes, he's a player's coach, but he's going to let you know if he's very, very upset about something. And that's what you need. You don't need a guy who's a player's coach and then gives you a pat on the back and it's okay. Here's a crumble cookie to make you feel a little bit better, like Kevin Stefanski was.
Well, Kevin just didn't want to hold anybody accountable.
No.
Like, that's my thing. Like, hold guys accountable. If guys are going to mess up, please hold them accountable. Actually coach them, because a lot of those guys see that, and when they're not getting ripped, they're like, we can just walk all over this coach and it doesn't matter, because he doesn't respect himself enough to even stand up to the star players. And that's the way that you garner respect from everybody. And like, even if you are going to piss off one of the star players, quote unquote, it's not going to last for long, because they're going to keep doing their thing. And guess what? If they really feel like they need to leave the team because of how much they're getting ripped, then they're probably not worth having on the team anyway. So it's not even worth trying to keep them. And that's the other part of it. But again, it's just all about self-respect. And these players aren't stupid. These players know exactly what they're doing, and they will test their players, just like subcontractors will test other contractors to see what they can get away with and what and what they can't. It's the same thing. If they know that they can get away with certain things, they're going to. And they're going to let it slip and slip and slip until you finally see something. And then they're going to see if you keep saying something. It's the same philosophy. So I hope that Monken does that, especially with a younger group like this. Now you got rid of Miles. You still have Denzel, who
Yep.
I believe is a pretty solid leader in that room, and I think he's not going to be the most vocal guy, but he's going to be a guy who is still going to be solid in the locker room. He's going to be a piece that's going to keep kind of everybody together, and that's going to be important for a team like this because once things go south, man, these young guys, they check out really quickly. And if they don't have the proper leadership, they don't have the coaching to do so, it falls apart quickly. And I think that's what we saw with Stefanski over the last 2 years. And I know some guys like them. I think some guys are just really loyal, and that was their only coach that they had that really finally got them somewhere. But it can get better. And I believe Monken, as long as he can just have this team looking better and being more positive, I think he can get himself another year or two at least, and then go from there. Because there's a lot of people that think he's a one and done, or he's like the sacrificial lamb for whoever is going to be next. And I don't know if I necessarily see that. I know it kind of makes sense due to the Browns' past. The only way that happens is if Monken goes like 2-15, like something just horrible, something that like a Rob Chudzinski would do, a 1-15 or whatever it was that that he went, or 2-15. It was bad that year. So I'm not sure if I see that in this group. I think this group can win some games. You saw them that they were close in a few of the games that they lost last year. So if the coaching really does make a difference, maybe they flip-flop and they win those games. And let's say they go 7-9. Okay, well, it's losing, but it's better than being 4-13 or 3-15 or whatever it is. We just don't need all of that unless you're really going to commit to the first overall pick, which if that's the case, then I guess go for it. But I don't know. That's pretty much all that I had on the Browns. I don't want to spend too much time. It's already been a half hour.
Yeah, I think we've exhausted the Browns talk for today.
Yeah. And look, it's going to come more.
Yeah.
So, as camp continues to go, we'll have more, storylines to talk about instead of just the sort of the preview of like what is to come. We get to talk about how guys look in practice. But one of the cool things that I don't even know if I said this, but Ward got an extension today.
Yeah.
So he's now technically the highest paid corner in the NFL. It was only a 2-year extension. So we'll see how that pans out. But again, at least you keep him here for long enough to get through. You just hope that he can stay healthy throughout it, in order to make that that contract worth it. Because otherwise, it looks really, really bad if he gets another concussion and then he's out for half a season, if not more, because of his already amount of concussions that he's received. So you just hope that pans out. But that was another cool thing that happened today. But we have a little bit more time, and I'm wearing a Guardians hat, so I want to talk just a little bit, just rant a little bit, because although they won today, somehow after starting off really good and then just giving up 5 runs in a span of 2 innings, they did come back and win it off a bunt by Rocchio. Out of all things, it could have been a bunt. It's the most guards ball thing ever. But the Guardians have been struggling to score some runs after that enormous game they had last weekend where they had 7 home runs against
Minnesota.
What was it, the Twins? Yeah, the Twins.
Yep.
And after that, it just went downhill from there, and obviously they played a good Rays team. That's a thing that, is pretty obvious. The Reds are pretty good too. The game got delayed and then it was a doubleheader today. So they actually have another game starting, I believe. I don't know if they start it now or if it starts at
7:10 is first pitch. So we got another about 15 or so minutes.
Right. So, they get to start that game too. And I think Gavin is on the mound today, but Slate's Coney, pitched a really rough one. He only had 3 innings. Didn't play horribly, but they just pulled him real early, and then my goodness, it just went downhill from there. And it just comes back to the conversation, man, that we keep having with these Guardians over and over again. And it's, where is the trades? Like, when are we going to make a trade? Is this going to be a team that you even make a trade with? Are you going to be sellers? Are you going to be buyers? I mean, at this point, you almost just expect them to not do anything because of their past. Like, what on earth can we even make of this team, and how difficult it's been to be a fan, to watch every day and then see games end 5-0, 1-0, 2-1, have a game where they get a hit and then they go 0 for 27 after that as a team. Like, where is the line where you finally say, yeah, we probably should make a couple trades. Like, we probably should get rid of some of these young guys because we need help now. We can't be thinking about 5 years ahead. We got to think about now.
Yeah, I mean, the win today, it helps break a 5-game losing streak because you won the first 2 against the Twins, lost the last 2 against the Twins. So you split that 4-game series 2-2, and then obviously you lose all 3 to the Rays. And then obviously you get 1 back today against the Reds, so you're back in the win column, which is very nice. And I think what's helped a lot too is Chicago has also been losing too, so that's kind of helped quite a bit. When it comes to trades and whatnot, I mean, I hear you because we've been calling for trades for a bit now, for the Guardians to make some kind of moves. And it's not like we're asking for a lot. We're just asking for someone who could hit the ball and another pitcher. So it's not like we're asking for a ton.
No.
Um,
Just asking for something at this point.
Yeah.
Something.
Well, and I think the issue is the looming lockout issue.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's deterring teams from trying to make moves, because a lot of teams are like, well, if we're not going to be playing baseball next year, then what's the point?
Yeah.
Why make a move if we're not going to be playing ball next year? Why waste all this money to get a guy for a year? Then it's like, oh, he can't play for us anymore because of the lockout. So there's a lot that goes into what some teams are thinking, and the Guardians are one of those teams where, is it worth making a move this year? Because they could be waiting till the deadline or the day before the deadline to see where they're at. Because the deadline is next Monday. Well, actually, this coming Monday. So you got 6 more days, and they could see what's going on with this Red Series. They can see what goes on with the Diamondback series that starts on the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then they could see like, hey, look, we went from a 5-game skid to maybe a 5-6-game win, a 5-game win streak. Yeah. And then we lost maybe the last day to the Diamondbacks. And we are half a game back, maybe tied with the White Sox for first place. We may not feel the need to make a move because we feel like the division's still within our grasp. And we have an inkling that the White Sox are eventually going to slow up and turn back into the White Sox. And it seemed like the White Sox could be like, listen, this is the only chance we've got. We've been bad for years. We're actually playing good ball. We could make a couple moves now to save our season and make ourselves still a playoff contender.
Yeah.
So teams are going to have different mindsets. The Guardians could be like, listen, for as bad as we are, to be where we are is actually kind of surprising. And we might as well just roll with it. And if the lockout happens, it happens. We made a smart move by staying stagnant. And it's like, we were going to win a World Series this year, but we could build off of this team and build for 28 and, just kind of hope, we can make moves then, because by then David Blitzer takes over. Because, David Blitzer would take over in the wintertime anyways. Blitzer's taking over. It's a new era of baseball for the Guardians. The Dolans are finally out of town. And this is a guy who might actually pump money. And who knows, we could have a brand new CBA that includes a salary cap and a salary floor.
Yeah.
And, the team actually does make moves. and the team actually looks really good and plays good competitive baseball.
Yeah.
And even if the CBA isn't agreed and we do have baseball next year, even if it's for a half a season, and a guard, who knows, maybe Butcher will still make a couple moves and be like, look, I don't care if it's a half a season, a third of a season, a quarter of a season. I want to win.
Yeah.
And I'll make whatever moves I can. And I'm not going to mess around about it. So I think the lockout has a lot to do with some of these teams' decisions to maybe either make a move or not make a move. I guess it depends on how close they feel to winning a title. But also too, it could just be the fact that if the Guardians want to make a move now, it's gonna have to be within the next couple days because I think they want to see whether or not they have a contender in them, and you also have to move pieces. And this could be a season where the Guardians don't do anything again,
Mhm.
but it's time where they bring up Angel, Ganal. They
Mhm.
bring up Ralphie Velasquez. They bring up a couple of these guys just to see what they got. You know, it kind of, and you know what's funny? It kind of worked last year when they brought up like CJ Kafis and
Yeah.
they brought up George Valera at
Yeah.
towards the end of the season last year, and they ended up playing very well and helping the Guardians make the postseason. I mean, it was a hit by a pitch on CJ Kafis that got us to the postseason,
Yeah.
and it could happen again. They could bring up Ganao, they could bring up Velasquez, they could bring back up Cooper Ingle or Cody Huff, and those guys could be playing very well. They could be like, listen, I guess all it took again this year was to call up a bunch of the other guys from Columbus just to see what they have, and they're playing very well. So,
Mhm.
that could be the move, and I think that's probably is what's going to happen. I think if the MLB feels like there's there's going to be a lockout next season, I feel like a lot of these teams are going to stay pat and just not make any moves
Mhm.
because at that point it's just not going to be worth it because you're going to spend money for what? To not play baseball next year? Excellent. Thumbs up. But if it makes sense because you feel like you can make, because the Guardians, I feel like it does make a little bit of sense just to do one or two moves because you're in the worst division in baseball.
Yeah.
You have a chance to win it every year. And this team definitely has, I mean, I looked at stats the other day. Our bullpen is ranked seventh or sixth in ERA, which is crazy to me with how Matt Festa and Sean Armstrong have been doing. That's mind boggling. But
Yeah.
our starters are also in the top 10 in ERA. So the pitching is great. And I know, imagine another arm in there to make it even better.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest need is going to get a bat because, again, we rank almost dead last in every single hitting statistic in baseball.
Yeah.
And if you could just get one bat, maybe you don't even focus on pitching. Maybe you just focus on getting a bat or maybe two bats and up the offense. Then you could be speaking my language here and getting this team to hit the baseball and getting some more runs in and be like, hey, look, we're finally scoring runs. The pitching, I get it. Slade Ciccone may not look the best,
Mhm.
but he's been serviceable. He's been doing well, and he gets you through ball games.
And you could put him in the bullpen if you
Yeah,
really
and it's
decide to do that.
yeah, and it's what our buddy Sean talked to us in the group chat about. You could go and get a 6-man rotation, and if you really need be, you could throw Slade Ciccone in the bullpen, and you already have another starter. So you could go out and get a starting pitcher if you really wanted to that's a little bit better than Ciccone.
Mhm.
And you could dump Ciccone into the bullpen and you could DFA Matt Festa finally. And hey, everything's a-okay. You got good hitting. You have the pitching, which is still top 10 in both bullpen and starting five.
Mhm.
The team looks good and they can fight for something. But I think the Dolans need to do at least something. Even if it's just getting a bat at this point, I don't care. Just get something in return. give me a guy who can hit the baseball.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely need that because I just saw a thing on Twitter just like 5 minutes ago, and Kyle Manzardo is currently our home run leader right now, and he's been struggling even though he had a grand slam today. He has 12 home runs. 12 home runs in a little over 100 games as a team is rough. You know it's bad when Jose has 10 and he's been out for the last month plus, like
So,
month and a half, and he's just now coming back.
well, same with Angel. I think Angel has
Yeah,
like 9 or 10,
yeah, I think
and
he does too.
there's a couple of guys with like around that 10 to 10 mark too. That I think Reese Hoskins has 9 or 10 as well, and
Yeah, he has 10 as well. Yeah, I think Hoskins is actually like second or third on that list. So it just goes to show you like the home runs are just not coming. And like
Mhm.
even a guy like CDO who at the beginning of the year looked like he would be a guy that could hit 30 home runs in the season has slowed down on his power, but has still been contributing and still driving in runs, which I think is important for us here. But the power is just not there. And let's be real, we haven't had power since like Mike Napoli or
Yep.
like Edwin Encarnacion, um,
Josh Donaldson.
Josh Donaldson, Carlos Santana when he was in his prime, where he was able to hit those like 25, 30 plus hit bombs. Hell, even
Mhm.
Lindor was a 30 home run guy at one point. Like, you know, you had many guys over the years with the good years of the early 2010s where the team was really, really good, always competing. You just don't have that power anymore. And the Guardians have really done a poor job of trying to fill that. And they've tried to fill it with young guys that haven't been proven. Or they try to bring in a really old guy that did it, but did it like 5 or 6 years ago. Even a Reese Hoskins who, has done it a few years ago. But you can't put all your eggs in that basket, man. Like, I'm sorry. Like, Manzardo had a great year last year, and then he turns out to have a slower year. That happens. Like, these young guys will come out and
Mhm.
they'll struggle in their, year two or year three. Fortunately, guys like Bailey have been doing really good, like really, really good. I think Quan is finally starting to hit his stride back. Finally, he seems like kind of his old self again. They're starting to put him back up towards the top of the lineup. Bazana has still been really, really active. CDL has been active, and hopefully Ramirez can get back into it as well as Angel to really give us a little bit more power and just a little bit more of, hey, let's drive in some runs, let's get on base. Like, we had one run where literally Ramirez quite literally manufactured the run himself. He got on first off a single, and then stole second, and then stole third, and then he got a sac fly and was able to run in the run. Like, you miss that when you don't have a guy for a month and a half like him. He's that special, but
Mhm.
Guardians don't have enough of that. And not only that, they don't have enough. I think they have enough guys in the starting lineup. They at least have 4 guys to get them through at least like a playoff run, maybe. But we need, and I think Sean is right. Like, last year we went to that sort of like 6-man rotation towards the end of the season, and it helped us. I think
Yep.
they need to find a way to do that again. But I think in order to do that, I think you got to go out and try to make a trade for somebody or figure out if you can bring somebody up from the minors to see if they can be the next Messick or they can even just be the next young guy that sort of fills in a late role where you can be the 5 or 6 guy off the rotation and kind of flip out Saccone, because I think Saccone could do better in the bullpen truly. And before we traded for him, that's where he was. Now, he played great for us at one point last year in the starting lineup, but he's just kind of lost it. I don't know what he's been dealing with, but he's just not been really consistent. He's not been able to string in, really many good wins, and he's been getting the crap beat out of him. So put him in the bullpen and only have him be a guy that can start or play in 1 or 2 innings max. And I think that's where you can find that fine line with him. So
Mhm.
again, the Guardians, like they have these options, and the thing that ticks me off is again, I know what you said about the lockout potential, which I do think is very possible for next year. Like, there's going to be a lockout. It's a
Yeah.
matter of, is it going to take the whole damn season away from us or not? But I still think that this team has enough to be able to actually make a run still. The AL is so weak. Look at the AL. Look at the Yankees. Boston has been the best team in the AL. They've been on that heater. They've been on like what, a 15 or 16 game streak. Yeah, I would actually, they could still be going. I'm not sure. The Rays are good. Then who else is next? I mean, the White Sox have been getting there. They've been up there with us in the AL Central, but it's a wide open AL, and for whatever reason, the Guardians just continue to kind of dance around wanting to trade some of these guys away, and it's just not helping us now. And it's putting guys like Vogt in a tough spot. I haven't been a big fan of Vogt. I'm going to say that right now. I haven't been a fan of some of his in-game decisions. Flipping guys out of the lineup to pinch hit, and it just doesn't work. It just seems like when he does it, it's not timed well. But is he truly the one that's starting to make those decisions, or is it Chernoff? Like, that's the other part that I don't know if we'll ever know until Blitzer comes in.
At this point, I think Chernoff needs to go.
I mean, I don't think enough people know who Chernoff is. Like, Chernoff is the GM, so he's the guy that's below Antonetti, but he's the one that makes all of the decisions in front of Antonetti, and then Antonetti's the one that's got to take the heat for it. He's the one that's always talking to people. Meanwhile, Chernoff is barely probably in Cleveland. He's probably doing the same exact thing that what's his nuts was doing for the Browns for 5 years. Yeah, he's our Podesta, but yet he has all of this power in the lineups and bringing guys up. He has really failed them, but he's been with the Dolans, I think, for a long, long time. So the Dolans obviously like him. I bet you as soon as Blitzer takes full control of this, he's out because he's been terrible for us. Awful. And people that don't know who Chernoff is, get to know this guy and make sure that you blame him, not Antonetti, because Antonetti has taken a lot on his chin, and it hasn't been his fault at all. And I think Antonetti is a fine gentleman in that front office.
Yeah, I was going to say, Antonetti actually knows how to do his job, too. And it does, when things do go right, it's 99% because of Antonetti.
Yeah, it is.
So
it is. So
Chernoff is a bum. If you want to blame anyone, don't blame Antonetti. Blame Chernoff, because he's the one who wants Arias to stay. He's the one who likes, David Fry. He's the one who likes all these people because analytics say you should. And that's who Chernoff is.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense.
But that's all I got.
Yeah, I mean that's all I got too. We went a lot more than we wanted to today, but we would like to try to keep the episodes around 45 minutes or even below that if possible. But it's what we do. We BS and we rant. So
yeah,
of course we're gonna rant for 20-25 minutes on the Guardians. So anyways, that is gonna do it for us. Next week, probably expect a little bit of Cavs news, as there's been some rumors going around about the next moves that they could make. Sounds like James Harden is going to sign at some point this week. I think they're just waiting to see if any more dominoes fall for there. So next week we'll probably hit on that, and then we'll get possibly into some more Brown stuff, and then I would assume some Guardian stuff if we can, if the Brown stuff isn't doing anything, because I think trade deadline is coming up here real soon. So we will obviously have that as well. So let's see what happens with the Guardians, and let's see what the Cavs can cook up. But until then, we'll see y'all next week.